Hi, Inky friends. It's Cindy Lynn with my Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel and blog for Christmas in July. So I've got the Coming Home Banner Year, Make a Difference, Zoo Globe. I've got everything. Zoo Globe, Trimming the Tree DSP. I did an unboxing and I told you guys that I got some stuff because I had a Christmas card in mind, and then they came out with this designer series paper and I knew I wanted to put the giraffe in a car. Okay, I'll tell you about that in a second. I want to tell you about this here really quick. I cut a piece of vellum to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 because I can see through the vellum and I will use this on a card so I'm not wasting acetate. So I just cut it out and I placed it where I knew I wanted my scene. I'm going to bring in my T-square ruler. I'm going to make some lines and I'm going to cut this out perfectly. And I'm going to show you guys how to not waste this paper and create a scene. But so here I am with all of this stuff and I got this Trimming the Tree DSP and I was like, shut the front door. There is a red beetle on this car, on this paper. So I knew I wanted to do that giraffe poking out of the VW Beetle bug. And I knew I wanted to get the Make a Difference stamps because I wanted to stamp the sentiment, I'll be home. And I wanted to take this little giraffe, put him in this little VW Beetle and have the I'll be home for Christmas kind of theme because giraffes don't belong in the winter. And this paper, I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, the pattern's just not right for a card. And if you saw the unboxing, you probably noticed I said it would be good for 5 by 7. But look at this. I marked it all out. I've cut it out on my trimmer. And now you see here how I was very careful not to cut out any of these houses because I'm gonna hide. Instead of taking the roof of that house off, I cut it out so I could save it. And I'm just gonna build some snowbanks and put them down there in the corner and hide where that house would have been. So I'm just getting this all trimmed up. Now this piece, there's really not a lot you could do with this. So I thought, well, let's put this house over top of that house and just kind of fill this in because it kind of created more of a foreground, right? Because the house was bigger and I felt that the little red one looked kind of more like a background because it was so small and the car up there was so big and I'm like, oh, okay, let's do this. So I grabbed just some scrap Whisper white there and I'm just piecing it to make sure it'll fit behind this house because I want to put some dimensionals. So if I cut out a piece of Whisper white behind there, it'll kind of give it some stability, right? So I'm just going to use some snail and I am really using my seal, my Stampin' seal, and I'm liking it. It's getting a lot easier for me to use, so I just don't put the caps on, right? But nevertheless, so I'm going to cut out a little bit of the bottom to create some snow there because I don't want to just cut it straight across the bottom of the house. And then I'm going to cut this out right along the color of the actual house. And look at that. Now, this little red house, we can't waste that. We've got to cut this out of there. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to kind of make some lines so that I know where my house on top has to go, because the worst thing to do right here, right now, would be to cut that too big back there, right? And if there's a mistake to be made, I'm going to make it. And trust me, you're going to see me make a few on this card. So now I've got that all cut out. I'm going to erase all that up with my electric eraser. Now that house, I'm going to do the exact same thing to that little red house that I did to the blue house. But you see there, the blue house in the front totally makes it look like a foreground. So I'm going to hide a tree, put that red house there, and now bada bing, bada bam, it's coming along. So now some of those little leftover pieces, I took a piece of Whisper white and just drew some snowbanks. And you know what? Play with it. They're just like half circles. Just make sure they're not perfectly even and whatnot. You'll get it. I have faith in you. And now I'm going to trace that onto my DSP because I don't have much of this Trimming the Tree designer series paper to waste, right? I've only got a few of these little leftover pieces. So I'm going to cut out a couple snowbanks. I'm going to do another piece here. That seemed a little small, and in hindsight, I ended up cutting this little snowbank in half anyway and only using a little bit of it. And then a big mistake happened. Well, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I had to go back later and I had to get some more designer series paper out because you're going to see, and I just had a face palm. And to be completely honest, when I did the thing that I'm going to do here, I literally had to walk away for the whole day. And I didn't come back to this card until the very next day. And then another huge problem happened. And I'll tell you about that too. But for some masking, it's been a long time since I pulled out my masking tape or paper. This I bought for Cricut. I put it on just a piece of copy paper. You can put it on a piece of acetate. You can put it on whatever you want because it comes on a big, huge roll. It's just such a money saver. So I buy it, and I've got to check and make sure that we don't have any masking paper with the new catalog. I don't believe we do. So I'll be able to link that down below for you guys. So I'm just kind of playing here, and I'm getting my little VW Beetle all stamped up, and now I'm only going to fussy cut the top of this out. You know, I used to have a beetle. I used to have a blue beetle, and I called it my $30,000 flower holder with a car. And yes, I had flowers in my dashboard. I had a blue beetle with white daisy flowers with yellow centers. So nevertheless, as you see, I didn't get fussy with the bottom of that car because there's no need to, because you know what? You're not going to see any of that. I'm going to fussy cut this car out. So I just kind of cut that masking paper out the minimum amount I had to. Now, the only thing about saving money on this masking paper is it's a little tricky to get off. You got to take your pick out and kind of play with it a little bit. But you know what? It's a money saver, and I'm a thrifty gal, so I love this stuff. So I'm going to stick this on here. Now, I'm looking and I'm like, oh, do you trust yourself to stamp this on that car? I don't trust myself. There's no way. So I'm pulling out my Stamparatus. Let me know if you trust yourself to pick up your acrylic block and get that giraffe perfectly where you want it, because honey, I don't trust myself. So I've got out my Stamparatus. I got that piece of acetate. It's in my top 10. I'm sure it's in my top 10 stamping tools if you haven't seen me use it, but it allows me to stamp on there, and then I can make sure that my giraffe goes exactly where I want it to go because I've moved my paper. Now check this out. Watch this. I'm going to lift up this masking paper. Watch. Oh, Cindy Lynn, you can't see them in the car. It's like there's smoked out windows. So remember I showed you my Copic marker in that top 10? Well, there it is. And funny enough, it's right there on my table. So I'm just going to draw the rest of him in because I have not got time to cut the window out of that mask. No way. So you know what? I'm just going to draw him back in. And I had to use the Copic marker because I colored this in with my Stampin' Blends. Now, I left my coloring in and sped it way, way, way up. And that's okay. I mean, the video is a little bit longer, but it is what it is. And I went out of the lines there a little bit, but I pulled out my Jelly Roll pen and I just traced over that and fixed it all up. That's in my top 10 stamping tools as well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, but the Jelly Roll, you can just go right over top of it and it hides everywhere you went out of the lines. So yeah, hey guys, I feel like I'm just itching to do a Facebook Live or stamp or something and hang out with everybody because I'm missing my girl time. I mean, and Cheryl Lee, if you're watching this video, she's one of my sidelines. She's supposed to come over and stamp with me, and it's just like one thing leads to another, and she gets doing stuff and I get doing stuff, and I haven't had any stamp time, but I need some girl time. So Todd made me dinner today, which was really nice. Today, I put up that How to Grow Your YouTube channel that took me 2 days to film. I won't even get into that. And then it took me all night last night and all this morning to edit it and get it up. And I'm just exhausted. But I had a little nap and I'm ready to rock. And I'm like, let's get this video up for tomorrow because this is Wednesday night and you guys want to see this video tomorrow. But yeah, so I've just been crazy busy all day, and Todd made me dinner. He's such a sweetie. He made salad and he barbecued smokies, and I ate it in a lettuce wrap because we eat keto, because mama is like doing all this. If stamping was exercise, dude, I would have the butt of Suzanne Summers because stamping, I do that all the time. But getting outside with this COVID and everything going on, yeah, back on the keto. So back to my card while I'm here. Now, what I did is I fussy cut out that whole little car with the giraffe in there. And as you can see, I colored his hat. I will list all the Stampin' Blends down below. I used only the combo pairs. I'm going to use a mat that's 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And it's the exact same size there as the actual designer series paper. So I forgot to mention, but you probably saw me, I put the little hat there on the little giraffe, and I use these little itty bitty teeny weeny little pom-poms. Girl, I don't even know, or guy, friend, my inky friend, I don't even know where I got them. They're in like one of those little drawers you have that are just like, you're like, I don't even know where I got this stuff. So if I can find some, I'll link them to you. But I started putting some of that craft white ink on my snowbanks, and it just wasn't popping. So you know what? I just stuck that whole thing in my embossing powder. Don't even worry about destaticifying it. Don't worry about all your little extra flakes, because guess what? They look like snow. So I figured, you know what? May as well stay in theme here and do the bottoms of these little houses. And I got all my dimensionals on there. Now, as you can see, something different happened in the bottom left-hand corner of that card, right? Yeah, no, I just, I stamped it and I cut it right out because I'm not keeping it, right? So I thought, why waste time? The video is already 15 minutes. But I'm looking at this while I'm putting all this crystal effects on here, or shimmery crystal effects. And the bottle, I'll link it for you. All my inky friends that have arthritis that can't squeeze that crystal effects bottle. This works awesome. But I'm looking at this. Even now when I'm putting these little stars on the trees, I'm just like, this is where I walked away, because I just couldn't stand this sentiment down there where the snowbank was. So it's still the same day right now. I'm putting a little bit of, what is that? You got it, Cindy Lynn. Winkastella. So I've got my Winkastella going on there, and I'm just looking at this going, how am I going to fix this? I don't like it. I just hated it. Not to mention the I typed a J, I stamped a J. So you know what? I set it all up on my block again, and I thought, I'm going to make a tag, and I'm going to put it up in the top corner. Now, I put the letters on and moved them so I could line everything up. And then I took, obviously there's only one E, there's only one L, and then the little apostrophe. I'm just going to piece those in after. And they're not perfect, but you know what? You've heard me say it once. I'm going to say it a million times. When it's perfect, it's not homemade anymore. Pulled out another piece of designer series paper, made another snowbank, embossed that up with some of that white embossing powder, and I just glued that snowbank over top, and I'm just sitting it there right now so it can dry. So I'm playing here with this die, and these are the Tasteful Label dies, and I'm just playing with it, trying to determine, oops, I think I stamped it a little. Have you ever done that? You stamp something a little too close to the edge and you're like, oh no, I don't think my die is going to cut this out. But I was able to just sneak it in there and I didn't have to stamp it again. So I pulled out some Misty Moonlight, and I actually had to cut this off of a 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock because I don't have any scraps for this paper yet. So I pulled that out because it's Stampin' Up and everything coordinates, and it just matched perfectly with those little mountains. So I'm much happier with this, but now I'm like, it's so funny because I pulled out this ribbon, and I used the ribbon from the new catalog, the Snowflake Splendor ribbon. And I wanted to flag the end of this little sentiment. And when I got it on my card, I was like, dude, this looks like the Goodyear blimp or an airplane coming off the side of my card. But you know what? I felt like the ribbon kind of gave it movement, but it looked like the tag was ready to just take off and fly right off like the side of that mountain on the corner of the card. But you know what? I'm loving it. So I don't do scene cards. Like I suck at them. Like I watch these girls that do all these amazing scenes cards, and I'm like, I want to be like you when I grow up. But I'm not terribly disappointed with how this turned out, because there's so many people that aren't from a snowy area and they go home for Christmas. So, and funny enough, I was just having a conversation here on YouTube, and one of the gals was like, I make cards for soldiers. So I told her, I said, the card tomorrow, which is this one, might be really good for soldiers because, they'll be home for Christmas. Let's pray and hope that they're all home for Christmas. So now I got that done. And this here, what's funny about stamping this insert? I've already stamped this insert. And the first time I stamped it, I did this. Swear to God, I did that. And I thought, how could I possibly do that 2 times? But what happened was the first time I did this sentiment, or the inside, I did it all up, I glued it in, and then I went to turn the camera off, and the camera was already off. So the camera stopped recording like the last 10 minutes of my video. So I had to stamp it there on my grid paper because I don't know how I did that 2 times. But I brought in my marker and I just, faked it till you make it, and I drew in the lines. But as you can see there, I tried to stamp it a second time and it didn't work. So nevertheless, I've got 2 inserts, but there is your card. Super fun. Let me know what you think of this Christmas card today. And until I see you guys again, take care and happy stamping.